Welcome back to another episode of the React Native Radio Podcast. Episode 320. Silky Smooth Animations with Catlin Miron.
Hey everybody, we have a fun episode in front of us. I'm Jamon Holmgren, your host and friendly CTO of Infinite Red, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Robin Heinz, our Director of Engineering here at Infinite Red. Mazen is not in today, but in his place we have an awesome guest, Catlin Miron. Welcome, Catlin. Of course, you and I have known each other for quite some time. I don't know, we met in like 2019 or something like that. It was back in the day. But you've been around from the very beginning as well, doing all kinds of stuff. Let me read your bio here really quick. Creator of AnimateReactNative.com. Go bookmark that, everybody. The biggest React Native animations collection in the world. He's been a developer for over a decade, having worked at 11 Labs, Hootsuite, Microsoft, and Skype, and helped lots of startups as a contractor. He's spoken at several conferences. I think that's how we met, was speaking at a conference together. Appeared in several podcasts, including this one. Before we took it over, actually, like right before we took it over, you had one of the like most recent episodes in like the 170s, I think. I think was the episode number. And then you also have a YouTube channel, 31,000 subscribers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is that right, Catlin?
That's impressive.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
good
wild.
job, man.
Yeah. Given the fact that I was missing from this ecosystem for a while now, is like it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. You also love contributing to open source and sharing behind the scenes on Twitter/X. And you do love animations, but I think that one of the things we want to talk about is you do more than animations. You also do a lot else on the UI side and reusability and whatnot. So we'll get into all of that in just a moment. But before we get into that, let's hear from our sponsor. Our sponsor is my company, Infinite Red. We are a premier React Native consultancy located fully remote in the US. We're a team of 30 senior plus level React Native developers and a few others who, I don't know, probably get annoyed by how much we talk about React Native, but there aren't very many of them. I'm just looking at Justin's face, looking for a reaction right now.
They
Sorry,
do get
our
annoyed
Director
when we
of
talk about
Communications.
React Native incessantly.
Yes, exactly. Oh, he just put in chat, React Native pays my bills. I love it.
That's a good attitude.
If you're looking for React Native expertise and to make sure that Justin has a job, hit us up at infinite.red/React Native. And don't forget to mention that you heard about us through the React Native Radio Podcast. So Robin and I have a job as well.
Yes.
All right, let's get into our topic for today. Catlin, we're going to go into all kinds of things about animations, of course. But we're going to talk about some other things as well. But before we get into that, I want to ask, how did you get into coding over a decade ago?
Well, that's actually a good question. I didn't want to say 2 decades, but over a decade sounds even better, I believe.
Just say 2 decades. That's what I do.
Yeah, so everything have actually started. I had a single friend, the only friend that was coding almost 20 years ago. He was using a Dreamweaver. Most probably everyone that's 30 plus, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, yes. The good old days.
What was that, like 2013 or sorry, 2003, 2002, like that kind of era?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, it's that was the era.
I had Dreamweaver MX 2004. It was before Adobe bought it and ruined it.
Oh, yeah. When you also had Fireworks, is like everything like Illustrator.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he knew how to do websites and everything. It's like what you see, it's what you get. Of course, you can also write code. It's like a bidirectional way of doing it. So this is how I started, basically. I was always going to him, hey, can you teach me how to do that and that? I didn't even own a computer back then. So I also had to go somewhere to find a place to do it. And when I was, I think, on my 10th grade, I had to go to Malmo, Sweden, to create a website for a university that we were exchanging some. We are basically exchanging some informations between my school and their university. So our job as students was to create a website, dictionary-based website, where we were sharing Romanian words, English words, and Swedish words, so you can learn something while surfing the web. And that was my first website, actually, that I had to build along with some of my colleagues back then. And together with them, we also had to relocate ourselves for 1 month to Malmo, which was like a Socrates degree experience exchange sort of thing. And then I moved to the university, and then everything started to take shape, like in my mind. By the way, I'm just an electrical engineer by heart.
Oh.
So yeah, computer science is just something that I did as a side project all the time, and just a side hustle, let's say. So during my first year of university, I ran out of money, as most of you probably did the same. So I had to have like a side income, and I have started to learn JavaScript, PHP, and HTML and CSS, plus web design. So pretty much that's the whole story. And then the rest is history. On my first year of master, I have received a job at a small company in Romania. And basically, since then, I'm just doing it full time, like front-end developer. Then I moved to Uberview, and it was acquired by Hootsuite, which is this social media platform that's doing analytics. And back then, I remember that we were doing Backbone.js. And
Oh my god!
I actually helped the team. Yeah, it's crazy. But hear me out. So we have built a framework on top of Backbone, which is called Mosaic.js, and it's exactly as React is doing it now. So you have like widgets, because Backbone was not like it was really hard for you to reuse any components or to hook to any particular properties down the road. So we have built this Mosaic that was this puzzle, or you could stack like pieces on top of each other, and you could create like a single page application, and you could subscribe to different channels that you are interested in. I don't know, users/user ID and things like that. So everything was coming through you via those channels, and we were updating the DOM basically in real time, which was incredible.
Wow, that really was like React before React.
Yeah, especially it was written in CoffeeScript, but yeah, that's another aspect of it.
CoffeeScript.
I love
CoffeeScript.
Blast from the past.
I love CoffeeScript.
CoffeeScript was all the rage when I started programming in 2014.
The fat arrow, binding this. Yeah, it's great. And then after the acquisition, we actually had to rebuild everything because we had this opportunity to rewrite everything. And one of my colleagues actually came with this idea: hey, why we are not giving React a try? Is this new tool, that was built by Facebook? Back then it was like really, really early stage. I don't know what version. There were no plugins, no packages, no nothing, pretty much. And we have started React. We actually had some open source projects. We have created high charts wrappers for React. And because of that project, after 2 years or so, maybe even less, one of my colleagues actually was invited to San Francisco at React Conf. And during that conference, React Native was announced. So basically, whoever was in the audience gained access to this private repository, pretty much. And I remember, because I was playing with Swift just, 2 or 3 months before the conference, because I wanted to do something on the mobile as well. And when he came back, he told me, hey, it's like I have access to this tool that you can build potentially in the future cross-platform mobile applications, because initially it was only iOS. So I said, oh yeah, that looks actually, that's really interesting, because this is what I would like to do in the future, and just going through the source code and everything, for me, it made sense because I already had React experience, and just going to React Native, it was just a view and a text or a text input instead of a div or a span and a paragraph. And I quickly created, I believe after maybe 6 months after React Native was released, I have published the very first complete application in React Native, which is a Dribble clone, an end-to-end application. I didn't have an Apple developer account back then to publish everything, but you get the idea. And I was actually using the Navigator iOS, for example. I also got to know Oblador, which is the creator of React Native vector icons. And I had showcased basically the power of React Native. And the community was amazing. I have received a ton of positive feedback because of this open source project. And I have started to dedicate almost my entire free time to open source and React Native in general. And after a while, my daughter was born and I could not do it anymore. Basically, I was doing React by day and React Native by night. And suddenly I had to stop, and look for different opportunities. And this is how I actually landed on a job at Microsoft and Skype, especially at Skype. We are doing a cross-platform unified solution through React XP, which is built on top of React, React Native, and Electron. And back then when I joined, we were basically the biggest company in the world that was using Electron. There was no other company nearby us, basically. And yeah, I don't know. Meanwhile, I was also doing learning by doing series, which is something, since I'm a self-taught developer, I know the struggle. I know how hard it is to learn new things and how many blockers you may encounter down the road. This learning by doing, it's, I'll just hit that roadblock and then take a step back, reflect on that, see how can I find the solution. I don't know, search over Stack Overflow or Google or tweet about it. And then, I don't know, 2 days later, I'll have a solution. Even though it's not the best solution, at least I have learned something during this process. So I was learning by doing and also learning how to enjoy the process of failing pretty much.
You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes almost.
Oh, yeah. Agree. 100% agree. It's like I'm still failing quite a lot, even though it's like, because everyone, especially on my Twitter, they see only the outcome. It's like this nice animation or this application or XYZ, but they don't know the journey itself. For me, the outcome doesn't matter. The journey, it's what matters the most, because from this journey, I can get everything, all my learnings, basically. So yeah, and afterwards, I had the chance to actually join 11 Labs as the first mobile developer, and I have created the first version of the mobile application, which was released to the English-speaking countries: US, UK, Canada, and Australia. And then I moved on with my life as a solo developer. Yeah, so currently I am jobless.
And you did that with 11 Labs was that back at the beginning of React Native?
No. It's just 1 year ago.
Okay.
Actually, 1 year ago, I've joined 11 Labs. I've stayed with them for 9 months. And at the beginning of the summer, I want to go on a long vacation just to, get into, I don't know, vacation mode. And we had to decouple each other. But yeah, we had to apart. So
it's an interesting journey because you are the type of guy that is interested in so many different things. You kind of you have this insatiable curiosity and drive to experiment and do different things. I'm just imagining you with Dreamweaver trying to do smooth animations on Internet Explorer 6. That's what I was thinking about, was the Catlin Miron animations for Internet Explorer 6.
No.
Yeah, so I actually have a small story in regards to that. So,
great. Let's hear
this colleague of mine that came up with this idea. Hey, let's give React a try. Back, he was our team lead, the front end team lead. Back then, his nickname is Kidding. He created React Cosmos, which is like this framework that you can render in encapsulation any component, and you can pass a fixture, basically a set of properties, and you can render in any state. And he was doing some he was recreating Warcraft 3 menus in Flash, and so I also had to I jumped into that and gave it a try. It was really hard, just believe me. It's like Flash it's awesome, but it's really hard. So he was doing a lot of action script. It was I didn't even knew how to read the code, like in my mind everything was like completely mess, but I gave it a try. It was really hard. Maybe now if I have this opportunity to go back and do something with my current knowledge, maybe I'll try to do some animations, but it's quite hard, It's like animations in Flash, especially like Warcraft 3 menu type of animation. It's really hard to accomplish.
I was wondering, like, is this you just trying to recreate the experience you had in Flash? Because it feels like a lot of the stuff that you do is like stuff that Flash did really well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly trying to solve developer struggles pretty much with React Native animations. I don't know why, because I have this curse of knowledge. I don't know exactly what other developers don't know. For me, it just works. I may struggle with other things, but not like, let's call it quote unquote simple things. So I'm just trying to come with different solutions to problems that developers on X, for example, are posting or talking about or struggle with. I'm not trying to recreate. I mean, in a perfect world, I think doing everything as you could have done it in Flash, I think that would be fantastic, especially in React Native animations. But it's just solutions to struggles, basically.
Do you when people come to you and they're just like struggling with animations, like what's the biggest thing that they struggle with? Is it the math? Is it just like knowing the API? Like, what do people really struggle with animations that you found?
I think the fundamentals is the most critical one. A lot of developers, they don't go through the documentation and they're not trying it out while they're parsing the documentation.
Well, because it's so easy to make an app that doesn't have them. Like, it's quote unquote optional. Like, I don't believe it's actually optional, but you can make a functional app without it. So there's nothing that's like forcing you to get through it and learn it in order to have a working app.
Yeah, I believe this is true. And I actually gave a talk a while ago and I was going through exactly this pain point. So especially for the mobile users, animations, it's a must. Mm-hmm. Not only a must, but it's what it's going to keep them inside your application, most probably, because it's going to separate you from the competition pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I believe, like, I'll give you an example. Just a couple of days ago, Linear published their application, and nowadays everyone is discussing about their mobile app, about the fancy animations or the micro interactions, even though they are familiar with the web app, which is a fantastic application, really fast, really snappy. They did the same with the mobile app. So users have those expectations, and usually whenever they will land on your application, I believe animations play an important role on keeping them inside the application because the retention rate is going to drop quite significantly from the first install to, 1 day usage.
Yeah. I definitely don't like every successful app is going to have like really like stunning animations in order to capture users, but it's such a hard thing to get developers to learn without forcing them.
Yeah.
It's not always intuitive. Like it's not intuitive, and it's very different from like a lot of the other things that we know as developers. Like it's such a different way of thinking about code. So yeah, you're doing a good thing by helping people learn.
It's true. And also, like, React is a declarative syntax. You have the JSX, and then when you move to a new state, which is typically where an animation would happen, you're just re-rendering the new state, right? And so like historically animations have kind of been left out in the cold a little bit, like, okay, new state, yay, and like CSS handles this with that, what is it, transition property, which will just kind of like animate between the states. But I don't know, Catlin, do you have thoughts about this? I guess I don't really have a question. The main point here is that we're working in a declarative syntax world, and like, how do you think about, the syntax, about how we handle it, about the idioms and whatnot?
Yeah, I think this is where Reanimated moved it to the next level, because previously you had layout animations, for example, in React Native that came directly in a bundle with React Native, but they were not that performant, and you had like different things happening on iOS and also on Android. So you could not create like a truly cross-platform or unified experience. And you had a lot of if statements, and it was really hacky. And I believe Reanimated 2, especially Reanimated 2, came with this paradigm shift, I would say, with layout animations entering and exiting, which stands for mounting and unmounting of the components, in a really declarative way. So instead of, as you mentioned, like with CSS, you have transition, and you can specify transition all, transition opacity with 3 seconds, and do it infinitely. I don't know. And the same, it's actually true for layout animations and entering and exiting, where you can specify, for this particular element, make it an animated component, and then just specify, if the layout is going to change, animate it using this linear transition configuration. Or if it's going to be mounted at a point in time, apply this entering animation. Or the same applies for the exiting. And I believe you have a lot of options, because there are over 76 different built-in animations that you can apply for those entering and exiting animations. That's going to increase by 50% the user experience, just by doing layout animations. This is what I'm also trying to do now with my through my YouTube videos, just to show the power of layout animations and entering and exiting animations, and what you can actually achieve with just 3 lines of code. And everything is really declarative. Because if you go, as you mentioned, with math, with initializing different shared values, or what's a shared value, what's an animated value, but wait, that component just re-rendered, I lost the state, where it's like, it's going to increase the complexity of the things. But I believe just starting with layout animations, entering and exiting, and by the way, you also have keyframes, exactly as you have in CSS. So you can also specify, at 10% do that and 100% do that, and it's going to automatically animate between those states, or those animation states for you. So you don't have to do anything, basically. And yeah, I think I saw this as a problem a couple of years ago, but now I believe we are in a very good state, just thanks to Reanimated. Yeah, I believe it added a lot of value to this entire community.
Do you install Reanimated on every project like that you do?
Amen to that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be default.
Yes.
It's just,
Except Reanimated V1. Oh, no.
No, it's got to be V2 at least.
No, yes. V1 was just, the road to V2, basically.
I mean, does anyone do it right in V1?
Right.
Yeah, when I see that much code, it's like, if it, it takes some time to write a simple and elegant solution, but usually this thing is not easy to do. It's like, it's quite hard to write simple things and understandable things. And I believe Reanimated 1 was in this timeline where they're writing everything like really, really not bad, but you're not able to read it or write it properly. And just because it was the road to V2 to make everything really easy.
So unfortunately, we're getting kind of low on time, but there's a few more things I wanted to touch on. One, for our listeners who are adding animations, either your animations or any reanimated animations, automated testing is getting to be super important, especially for enterprise companies and who have a lot on the line. They want to make sure their apps are really tested. Is there a way to really thoroughly test animations? Do you have any advice? Or is manual testing just the answer?
That's actually a difficult question. I believe manual testing, but for example, you can enable reduce motion and just move with it, just from a business logic perspective, and don't care that much about animations because those are like visual effects.
Can you explain reduce motion for a second?
Yeah, reduced motion, it's for impaired persons that, it's quite...
Like accessibility.
Right.
Accessibility. It's an accessibility feature that's going to just enable the opacity and just 2 or 3 properties that you can play with or animate. Like, for example, on my Mac right now, I'm using reduced motion. And just swiping between workspaces is just a quick fade in or fade out animation. There is no slide. There is no moving parts basically on the screen. So in this way, we can also help persons that I don't know how to say that word. Like there are persons that suffer from motion or motion sickness.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's right. Yeah.
In reanimated, for example, you have access to it directly via a hook, and you can decide what to do based on that returned value. Most probably, you're going to animate just the opacity.
Yeah. Tell us about Animate React Native a bit more. Like what's it all about? Why should people be interested in it?
Yeah. So I've created animatereactnative.com platform just because I wanted to share all my animations that I did since the beginning, pretty much.
Not just the knowledge, but the actual animations.
You can pay and just like use the animations that you created in your app.
Yeah, once you have a license in place, you can copy paste the code and do whatever you'd like to do.
Which could be a really good way to learn, because like you were talking about earlier, learning by doing. Like I'm a perpetual like learn by example. Like I am pretty hopeless at just reading the docs and understanding. But if you give me something that's working and then show me the code, I'm like, okay, that goes to that, and that's why that's happening. And like, oh, okay, that's why. Like I learned so much more quickly having a really good working example, and so that would be super valuable for someone like me.
Yeah, so those are ready to paste basically components. Not everything, but at least 50% of those animations are copy pastable and ready to use in any project. Recently, like in the last 30 or 40 different animations, what I was trying to accomplish is to respect a particular API. Like, for example, if that's a list that I'm animating, I'm just trying to have the same API or as close as possible to a flat list or a flash list. Or if I'm building an animated switch, I would like to have the same API as you are familiar with from a switch on change and all the properties, right? Along with the animation itself, I'm also creating an example how to use that. It was a great journey with those animations, and I'm not doing only reanimated. There are also examples with animated API, which is the library that React Native comes with. Because maybe Jamon, you have asked me about reanimated. Maybe there are old projects that you are just stuck somewhere and you cannot upgrade. You cannot add reanimated. So in this way, I came to rescue with different animated API solutions. And pretty much just sharing the knowledge, but also ready-to-use component and mechanism through which you can struggle with the code and understand what I was doing there and how I came up with that solution. And that also involves math, for example. I have created like the different animations that involved different distances, like Chebyshev, for example, and also trigonometry, for example, to calculate some angles. I have a balloon slider. that I've created a while ago, and based on the motion or how far you are from the previous point, or if you scrub really fast through a slider, is going to calculate that angle using math, arctangent in this example, just to calculate the angle.
That's really, really, really cool. You're talking my language as I was a math major. It's been so long that it's all been replaced in my head with other things, but I always enjoyed the math part of animations more than like making that translate into code. So yeah, I'm always excited to see some cool math.
Yeah, it's fantastic for me. When I'm playing with trigonometry, I always have like a circle with different axes, and everything kind of makes sense in my head. The same with interpolation. Whoever is listening to this podcast, I believe you definitely need to learn interpolations. They are by far the best thing to learn when it comes to animations, because one, it's instead of doing an animated value or a shared value for each individual style attribute, you can have a single value, and based on which you can interpolate and have a different output, and it's going to like save
functions.
You in terms of
it's just like yeah,
and it kind of just can based on the parameters that you're given, tell you exactly where you are,
literally
the position, the opacity, whatever. You're calculating that, and you can kind of move back and forth along that line. I guess sort of like graphing, in algebra or whatever.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to actually. If you have watched my conference from App.js 2 years ago, this is exactly what I wanted to emphasize, like this graph. You need to specify minimum 2 points for this function, and another 2 points as output, like how to remap basically the values. And this is just a graph, it's like, okay, so those are the input values and this is the output value. And in your head, you just remap that as a line. It doesn't have to be like a straight line, because you can define multiple points.
And for those who aren't as like enthusiastic about math, or maybe who hear, algebra and kind of flinch, what I think is cool about animations is that you get that cool visual feedback. It's one of the coolest parts of like coding, because normally we're just arranging, boxes on the screen, but this time we're making a move, and it starts feeling like, like something tactile, something real. It's always pretty cool. All right. Well, we're running out of time here. It's so much fun to catch up with you, Catlin. I know there's so much more that you do than animations. We didn't even get to it. We didn't even get to it this time. We'll have to have you back on. Of course, everybody go check out Animate React Native. Where can people find you online, Catlin, both your YouTube and elsewhere socials?
I'm really active on X and Twitter. You can follow me on at Miron Catlin, or on YouTube. Lately, I'm posting a video a week, and I plan on doing 2 live streams a week. So I'm trying to be quite active there as well. Otherwise, animatereactnative.com, hit me there, and you have a bunch of emails that you can reach out to based on whatever your needs are.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you really don't want to do the math, just hire Catlin. He'll do it for you.
Yeah, I can do that. If anyone needs me, I'm more than happy to help.
Yep, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, Catlin. Nice to catch up, as I said. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at ReactNativeRDIO. You can find me at Jamon Holmgren, and Robin. Something new for you.
I feel like we talked about this last time because it happened live, but
well, hey, not everybody
if
listened
you didn't
to
listen last time,
so.
The underscore is gone. So you can find me at Robin Hines on Twitter, X.
With an E. The E is not gone.
The E is not gone.
Keep that. Yeah. If you put the underscore, you'll find a different account, which is still
links
owned by
back to
Robin.
mine. I made Jamon made sure that I secured my old account as well.
She's like, I switched it over. I'm like, go register the other one right now.
You did. You were very serious.
Socials are. I was very serious. Like, you don't like,
mess
let
around
that
with
just
that.
hang out there.
So
first person to hit that, like, and it doesn't exist, they're going to register it and put something you don't want.
That's very,
Which
it was very
this has
good
happened.
advice, and I secured it, so it's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's it for this episode. Robin, do you have a mom joke to take us
I
out?
do. I have a really funny one. At least I thought it was really funny. I don't know if anyone else will, but
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Based on track record.
I always find them funnier than everyone else. But all right. I took a job as the head of Old McDonald's farm. I'm the CIEIO.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Why do we do this?
Because it's fun. We're having fun.
Okay. See you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
As always, thanks to our editor, Todd Worth, our assistant editor, Jed Bartosky, our marketing and episode release coordinator, Justin Husky, and our guest coordinator, Mazen Chami. Our producers and hosts are Jamon Holmgren, Robin Hines, and Mazen Chami. Thanks to our sponsor, Infinite Red. Check us out at infinite.red/radio. A special thanks to all of you listening today. Make sure to subscribe to React Native Radio on all the major podcasting platforms.